Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to get a little something to you for the blog. I haven't edited down the photos and the interviews that we've done thus far, and I wanted to just touch base on the early consensuses on healthcare, education in Iraq as it pertains to the presidential candidates. The early consensus is that the debate thus far on health care has not been about health care at all. It's been about insurance and making sure that everybody has insurance for health care. The consensus among the people that I've interviewed is we want to see more about how to reduce the cost of health care and to make it more accessible to people, and that yes, insurance is one way. That's a singular avenue of approach. We want to hear more thought on that subject. On education, the early consensus there again is that when you say federal government and education, you're creating a tumultuous endeavor, to say the least. We think that the place for federal government and education would be more along the lines of providing federal lands that exist in every state as for school buildings and campuses that can be done without increasing any tax burden whatsoever. Those federal lands are already outside of the taxation of the counties, so they're not in the local state or local tax digest. We think that the federal government is in the position to offer some larger grants, such as they do with colleges, with the Pell Grant, etc. And we think that a rewards program is a very cheap way to add a lot to the education program in these terms. One possibility: award the 50 best teachers from each state a $20,000 tax-free stipend for the year. The money's already federal tax dollars. Why tax it again and create the bureaucracy of that paperwork? To the teachers that have shown the most innovation in teaching and brought about new methods of teaching information to our kids, have instigated new classes, etc., that pave the way toward jobs for the future. We know that the things we will be teaching our kids in 10 years may not resemble what they're being taught today a lot. Let the federal government perform these kinds of tasks. Yes, there needs to be uniformity of education so that if a child leaves Georgia and goes to Minnesota, the knowledge that they have is pertinent to the classes and the schooling that they're going to be confronted with in Minnesota. But at the same time, education should be local in this sense. There are local traditions and events that occur in localities that have nothing to do with other parts of the country. I would venture to say that there are not many surfboards used in Minnesota that Florida may very well use a lot of, and Florida does not have a lot of use of snowmobiles that are so much a part of the day-to-day culture in Minnesota. And we know that when health classes and such in Minnesota they teach about a little bit about, look, the different survival that you might need and how to doctor cuts and things of scrapes you might incur on snowmobiles, unnecessary in Florida. So the federal government, as is pertinent to the candidates, we would like to hear some candidates come out for the kinds of programs that we've made mention early on. You know this will grow and change between now and election time, and we'll make those changing views known to you and to the candidates, and I hope you will become a part of these changing views and give us your suggestions as comments on some of the things you would like. Add a comment of a question that you would like for me to ask the interviewees. And I know you haven't seen any of them yet, and you will soon. Iraq. The consensus is that we are going to leave Iraq, that any of these candidates that end up being elected to be the next President of the United States will have to understand that the will of the American people is to let these people live their lives, and we need to get out of their lives. But we need to do it in an orderly fashion. We don't need to just cut and run. We need to let them know that here's what they can expect from our presidential candidates. They'll know it. They'll know it months ahead of time. So that by the time, and we would like from each of them to be clear enough on these issues so that we know, as well as the Iraqi people know through the global media, that whoever comes in as president, they'll know what to expect from that person in the first 100 days. This is something we'd like to see in the first 100 days, and we think that there can be some large impacts. We would like to see, as a early consensus among the people that are being interviewed, we think that this role of vice president as somebody you never hear from should be changed a little bit. Education was one of those, I forgot to mention, that we would like to see the vice president in the first 100 days hold meetings with local school boards on a regional basis, maybe in Atlanta at the Dome, where they bring Florida, Alabama, Georgia, all of the school boards in there to discuss firsthand what could be done, to have meetings of the minds at that kind of level, so that because that person could influence federal policy in that regard based on real knowledge and not just superficial editorials from newspapers. And I'll leave you with this for today. Please enter your comments on the kinds of questions that you would like to see asked of the interviewees. I think that there is a wealth of information in the minds of American citizens that can be brought to bear on the presidential campaign. And so if you have a good question, ask it, and we will pass that. I will pass that on as I ask people questions concerning these candidates. Thank you very much, and we'll see you